I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and while the focus is often on devices from LG, Samsung, HTC, and more, Huawei is an increasingly interesting competitor in the high-end smartphone space. They've released the Huawei Ascend P6, and we're taking a look at it in the full PhoneDog video review. Granted, it's hard to get the Huawei Ascend P6 in the US, but if you're in a market that supports it, this is a nice little Android phone that brings some different things to the table. It's got a nice design here with metal on the sides, as you can see, and then of course on the back, really a clean looking device with a curved edge at the bottom, and then up top, again, that metal around the edge. Now, specs wise here, you're looking at a 1.5 gigahertz quad core CPU. You've got Android 4.2 Jelly Bean here with Huawei's customizations and some interesting customizations at that we'll talk about in just a second in the video. 8 megapixel camera, 1080p HD video recording, 8 gigabytes of internal storage, 2 gigabytes of RAM. And then battery wise, you're looking at a non-removable battery in here that's 2000 milliamp hours. So a nice, decent sized battery given the fact that the display here sits right at a reasonable size of 4.7 inches with 720p HD capabilities. I want to thank Huawei for sending this device to us for review purposes, and thanks to our partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like this for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll make sure your email, your web, your contacts, your settings, all that good stuff is good to go. So when you walk out the door, you're ready to rock thanks to Best Buy Mobile. We give away phones to you for free on the site at instantwin.phonedog.com, so be sure to check that out. Now, this is running Android 4.2 Jelly Bean with Huawei's customizations, like I said, but there's a lot of differences under the hood. But before we get too far into that, I want to show you what the outside of this device looks like. You've got a SIM card removal tool hidden right here in the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack down here at the bottom. Go ahead and pop that right back in. You've got your micro USB charging port up top. You've got over here your power button, your volume rocker, your micro SD card slot, and your micro SIM card slot. And then on the back, 8 megapixel camera here with Huawei logo. Now, this is not a device that's available on carriers in the US, so if you do bring this in to use on T-Mobile or AT&T, it's a micro SIM card slot, and you'll get HSPA speeds, the band-wise, HSDPA 850, 900, 1700, 1900, and 2100. So a nice little phone all around if you can get it for a decent price. And you can see the on-screen buttons here. And again, Huawei's customizations run relatively deep on this device. You can see the shortcuts up top, and then I can go to more, for example, and select more of the shortcuts and move them in and out as I see fit. But then going into settings, shows all of my stuff. General and all, of course, right here. You can see my general stuff, typical stuff you'd use on a daily basis, wallpaper, font size, volume, phone ringtone, and then going into all, you can see wireless and networks, device, apps, personal, account system, and more. So we'll go back home here and you can see recent applications, home and back. Now what's interesting, if you haven't noticed it yet, you got your typical home screens, 5 home screens in this device, and I can add plenty more to total. Actually, I say I have 5 come out of the box. You can add a total of 9, which is what I have right here. What's different though, no applications area. You can see it's very similar in terms of the setup as iOS 7, for example, where this is running Android. You got the Android settings, but you don't have a dedicated applications drawer. Everything you see is on the actual desktop or on the actual home screen, if you will. So I've got my browser, my settings, my themes, my camera, but I don't have a place to go find them or an applications drawer like I do, for example, on the LG G2, where I can click and have all my applications in one spot. It's all sitting on a home screen, again, very much like iOS 7 with no applications drawer. So really interesting, different for Android here. And I can see settings again. I've got profiles, music, gallery, themes. We can go into themes here, for example, and take a look at Halo Taste. Taste is one of my favorites, so I'll go in here and apply that. And the theme will change, but again, everything on the desktop. So you may love that, you may hate that, but keep that in mind as you go and potentially look at buying this device. It is a little bit different in that regard. Tools here as well, Google applications, all right here out of the box. So you've got the same stuff. You've got Gmail, you've got all that, and the apps, of course, will download on to the display. But then beyond that, you don't have any system integration, or you don't have any menus, I should say, any deep menus on this device. Let's take a quick look at the browser here, and there's no SIM card in this device, but we'll go ahead and take a quick look at what it looks like on a 4.7 inch display. It's 720p. Overall, the picture quality is pretty decent here. This does have a quad-core processor with 2 gigabytes of RAM. The downside here is only 8 gigabytes of internal storage. So if you're somebody that likes a lot of music on your device, you do have a micro SD card slot, but still 8 gigabytes is a little bit on the scant side for internal storage on a device. So keep that in mind as you look at this unit. Down here you can see messaging, you can see your contacts, your phone. We'll take a quick look at messaging here and send a message to Stephanie Hammersmith, who's our test contact. So hi there, you can see the Android keyboard right there. We'll go down and see what else we get out of the box. You get the Huawei input method and Google voice typing also. So we'll switch to Huawei and you can see what it looks like right here. We can use it if we want to. Hey there, how are you? Or Google keyboard as well, depending on what you prefer to use. So again, 4.7 inches, pretty easy to use on this display. This is sitting right at the same screen size as the HTC One. So take that and put it in your pipe and smoke it. If you like the size of the HTC One display, maybe the G2 is too big for you, this could be a nice unit. One thing I find particularly interesting about this device are the transitions. Take a look at this transition effect and you can see it's kind of like something on Android 2.2 or 2.3. It's a little bit less fluid, a little bit different in that regard. 8 megapixel camera on this device. We'll take a quick look at that before we round out our quick review of the Ascend P6. Now 8 megapixels has 8 megapixels, 1080p HD video recording capabilities. 8 megapixels has 8 megapixels, kids. You remember that back at home. And then you can see down here, single, smart mode, beauty mode, HDR, panorama, and effect. You got a couple of different options here. And capture smiles. Who doesn't want to capture smiles? I read a report today saying Dallas is the happiest city in the U.S. We love smiles here in Dallas-Fort Worth. So that'll be great on this camera. Then you got the front-facing camera here, flash as well. Overall image quality is pretty decent on this device. Nothing to write home about in comparison to the 13 megapixel shooters on some of the competitors, but again, that's really not a bad picture when you look at that just quick shot that I took of the LG G2. Pretty clear. I can see the texture on the battery door here on the back of the device. The AT&T globe is clear, and I've got up and down volume buttons that are very clear and easy to see. And you'll notice the on-screen buttons go away or minimize when I go into the camera. So all in all, this device is going to be, first of all, kind of hard to get if you're not in the US, but it's a nice little device. But again, I wouldn't pay probably as much as some of the companies are going to want to bring this in. If you're looking at $500 to $600, there are better alternatives on the market. If this device is priced at around, let's say $350 or $400 even unlocked, definitely worth considering. It's just a little bit different with the way that the menu is set up. But overall, a pretty decent little high-end smartphone from Huawei. Keep it locked on the site for continuing coverage. I'm on Twitter at phonedog_Aaron, Facebook, facebook.com/HiAaronBaker. Thanks for watching. Keep it locked right here for more on the Ascend P6. It's apparently it downloads applications. Thanks for watching. You know what? We'll do a Quadrant Standard Edition really quickly before we sign out here and see what our benchmark score is. But let me know what you think of the Ascend P6 on Twitter at phonedog_Aaron. We'll run the CPU test here and see how it performs in real life. We got a 20,000 score earlier today on the LG G2, so compare that with its quad-core Snapdragon 800 CPU to what you're seeing here on this device, and it's loading. 3,198, it pales in comparison to some of the other quad-core devices that you can get on the market right now. Keep it locked on the site for more on the Ascend P6, and as always, I'll see you next time.